Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Cloud Foundry Community Advisory Board meeting for October 28th, 2020. We're going to skip over the CFF highlights and updates. The Cloud Foundry Foundation staff worked really hard to give us a great summit, virtual summit last week. I'd like to thank them all for that work. Some great presentations. I noticed they're coming up on YouTube now. So if you want to take a look at them and share them, people who didn't attend the summit, I think that's probably a good thing to do. Again, thank you CFF for doing, and the CFF staff for doing great work. I thought I saw Eric Malm on our attendee list. Eric, are you here, and would you like to go over the PMC updates for runtime?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Got a nice set of updates here. So the CLI team has released what I think is intended to be the final version of the V6 CLI with a couple of fixes in it. So that's 6.53, and so they'll be focusing on the V7 versions after that. And then of course we've got release integration with the release of CF4Kates version 1.0 around Summit. So congratulations to all of them on that milestone. And then, not to be outdone, kubectf has some other significant releases as minor updates in V2. I know they've gotten some really nice scaling configuration in to 2.5 and some more configurability around the Irene service account in 2.6. For some of the component teams, Cappies finished up their work to move the application bit packages into the OCI image registry when they're using KPAC and CF4Kates. And I know they've been working on some scaling improvements, especially with some of the feedback that we've gotten from the SAP folks that have been testing CF4Kates at scale. Irene, they've just started some work around spiking on sidecar support. I think they're also thinking a little bit more about various other extensibility mechanisms and how to support those. Networking has been doing some work to add optional support for other ingress controllers and mechanisms on Kubernetes, starting with Contour. So we're thinking that this is looking like a potentially lighter weight option for ingress than Istio, which is very feature rich, but also heavyweight, sometimes a little difficult to wrangle. So this is probably going to be more attractive for smaller or test installations of CF4Kates. Then they're also starting to look into some of the app-to-app features and how they can start supporting those on top of Kubernetes. And then logging and metrics, they've continued to work on log cache performance and scalability. I think they've delivered some improvements there, but there's still hard at work there. And Jesse Weaver, the project lead for that team, has been putting together a GitHub project on the CF4Kates logging repo to reflect some of the roadmap. So thanks. Those are some of the highlights. Happy to answer a couple quick questions too.
Great. Now, I did want to ask about the CLI V6 release. I know a lot of us still rely on the V2 API for many reasons. Do they still intend on releasing patches for that for the foreseeable future?
I think so, yeah. I assume that if there's any security issues or significant bugs to correct, then they would have patch releases for that.
Cool. Thank you. Have we got anyone from the Bosch team who can give us a quick update? Not.
I don't see anyone.
we did have an extensions PMC meeting. It was sparsely attended, but we got a couple updates. Stratos 4.2 was announced at the CF Summit. The big news there, amongst a lot of other improvements and extension point refactoring, was the donation or the contribution of the Kubernetes and Helm support in Stratos, in SUSE Stratos, to the upstream Stratos 4.2. So now everyone has access to all of the Kubernetes features and functionality, as well as a nice web Helm client for installing things to those Kubernetes endpoints that you connect to. Just like the CF endpoints, you can specify multiple ones and deploy things to more than one Kubernetes endpoint. I don't want to attempt to summarize the multi-apps update I got. Suffice to say that there were a couple of new features. multiple, you can specify multiple instances of one and the same MTA in a single Cloud Foundry space. You can use the service broker parameter to specify which broker to use for service creation. That's for if you've got duplicate service offerings from 2 different brokers. And then there's a whole bunch of changes and bug fixes that are in the notes from the last CF extensions meeting, which of course are in the GitHub repository with all the other things. I will amend these notes if I get any late additions to the extensions PMC updates from all around. But the real reason we're meeting today, because we are of course 1 week out from our normal cadence, we wanted to give room to the diversity conversation last week at CF Summit. We didn't want to collide with that, but we rescheduled because there were a couple of community projects that people wanted to present. One of which I don't think was presented at Summit, and the other one that we wanted a do-over. Have we got someone here for CF Protect?
We do indeed, Troy.
Okay, James. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah,
stop
sure.
sharing.
I'll take it away. I don't have slides. I
That's
barely have a demo. My demo infrastructure blew up this morning. I think I've managed to bring it back from the brink because it is a data protection solution, which is what it specializes in. So CF Protect is a merge integration of shieldcloud.io, which is a SaaS backup solution based on Shield open source that Stark and Wayne launched back in, I think, August. Which gives you on-demand access to a Shield cloud outside of your infrastructure for a monthly fee. The CF Protect bit is really a plugin for the CF CLI that looks through VCAP services for any given application and heuristically tries to determine if there's any services that look interesting or that look like they might have persistent data, and then it goes off and it configures Shield the correct way with the right plugins and the right credentials based on your service binds and the endpoints and the database names and other things. The goal in putting this project together was to make data protection inside of Cloud Foundry as simple as application deployment inside of Cloud Foundry. The big strength we see with Cloud Foundry is CF Push. Not a big surprise to anybody on this call. But CF Push, being able to go from code to running app, is still pretty groundbreaking, even in this day and age of Kubernetes and containerization everywhere. We'd like to do the same for data protection. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There's the button. All right. Can everybody see my terminal?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to start with, I'm using PWS. We actually started this project because we got the EOL announcements for PWS, and we needed to get our stuff off of PWS. And the easiest way we could do that was Shield. So I have in our PWS instance, I have this app that I wrote called To Do. It's just a small to-do application. It's a single list with a bunch of items that have a completed or not completed state, and the data is all stored in a database. It looks like this. It's very, very minimalistic. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a protection against it. So I also have, as you can see, we'll look at the services. I went ahead and I got a ClearDB, the free plan out of PWS. This is just a MySQL app direct instance that's just out in the cloud somewhere. And if I look at that service, I could go out and I can use their dashboard. I can run their backups. I can also look at the bindings for the app. So I can look at the environment variables for my to-do app, which that service is bound to. And I could find my credentials, right? My host name, the database name, what user to log in. I could set all this stuff up myself in Shield or in any other backup solution. But I'm lazy, and what I want to do is I want to have CF do that for me. Real quick, I'm going to flip over to this tmux pane, which shows me my Shield instance. I have targeted my Shield Cloud instance already with Shield API and Shield login and all that stuff. And I have a couple of things spinning. This migration target is going to be interesting because what we're actually going to do instead of doing a backup and a restore is we're going to back up the data in the to-do app and we're going to push it to another MySQL database as a means of shoving data from one system to another for app migration purposes or for testing or for auditing purposes where you might need a full data set copy from production into another environment. So we're going to start with CF Protect. Inside my environment, I have a couple of environment variables that tell the CF CLI plug or the CF Protect plugin for the CF CLI how to talk to Shield and how I want my backup for this app to be done as far as what agent. But for the most part, we run CF Protect. We remember to put the app name in, and the plugin looks through and says, "Hey, I found this. ToDoDB looks like it might be MySQL," and it pulls that off by looking at a combination of tags and the instance binding credentials. So MySQL in PWS presents a specific way, a separate set of tags. It's actually tagged MySQL. And a specific set of credentials that we can pull from. So here it's pulling the cleardb.com hostname, the port, the database, and the username and password. It then goes out to Shield and it creates a new target named after org space app and service name. And then it creates a daily job that is paused. And if I flip back over to the browser, you'll see that this is now extent. Let me see if I can make zoom a little smaller. There we go. We have this thing. It is paused. So one of the things we did in the design for CF Protect is we create a daily job, but we don't turn it on so that you have a final review step to go, hey, this is, I want this to run daily at 4 a.m. or I don't, and I want to go in and change it. But all my stuff is here, right? All of the things that I need to figure out. I picked a specific agent for this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to manually run this backup because I don't want to unpause it. And we can look through the task log. It connected out to there. It complained about the password on the command line, but it did go off and build an archive. And that archive shows up right here with this UUID. It's about 2.7K, which is about right, given that the to-do apps database is very small. And if I wanted to, I could restore this back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and we're going to look at MySQL running somewhere else. Specifically, I put a Docker Compose recipe together this morning because my normal database was out of disk space, I think. So we're going to pop into this CF Protect DB1 instance and we're going to run MySQL as the root user with the demo password. And there's nothing in this database. So if I do a show databases, that's just the stock standard MariaDB loadout, MySQL, the performance schema, and the info schema. The configuration for this is already in Shield. So if I go look here at targets, I have a target called migration target that is that, and it's running under a different agent. So we're going to grab that archive, and we're going to say, restore the archive, and I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to steal the UUID from here. We're going to say restore that archive to the migration target. And then if we go back to data systems and we go to migration target, we should have a manual restore that was, 1116. That's our restore. So that's going through and doing all the things. And if we look back now at the MySQL databases, we now have the AD29EB90B4803D1E database, which is the database that ClearDB set up for us. So I can pull this, I can run reports against this, I can actually move the to-do app off of PWS either onto another Cloud Foundry by restoring to a similarly CF protected database instance in a different Cloud Foundry. I can move it to Kubernetes, I can run it in Docker Compose, I can do a whole bunch with it. And we think that was a fairly painless setup for doing data protection. And that's kind of it. Data protection is really hard to demo because if it works, nothing catastrophic happens, right?
That is amazing.
So,
that is really, really
also,
useful.
case in point, I just want to re-emphasize or emphasize that when we've gotten notice that PWS was end of lifing, we stood up our own cloud Foundry elsewhere, and we literally used CF Protect to migrate the data services. That's right, James, right?
Yeah, we use this to move our own stuff because we needed to. Right now, the state of the project, it is on GitHub, github.com. Let me actually go share screen and we'll go look at GitHub. It is out here in the Shield Cloud org, CF Protect. You can download this. The README has all the instructions for installing this. We actually are running our own CLI plugin repository. This one that you can use to install the official way if you don't want to build software on your own machine. It's a fairly rudimentary version of the plugin. Right now, we're only supporting MySQL and Postgres, and they only work if these are the credentials and the tags. We're planning, because this is heuristic, right? It's looking at the VCAP services bind the environment variable and kind of picking and choosing what makes sense to back up and how to back it up. So if there's anyone out there that wants to give this a go, I strongly recommend trying it in a non-production environment first, as I do with all data protection software. And if there are services that you have access to that you would, we know how to back them up, but the CF Protect plugin doesn't, please feel free to open a GitHub issue with details about the service. The CF Protect plugin only gets better as we add support for additional catalog services.
I have a question. Is there a server-side component to Shield that runs in Cloud Foundry?
No, not for the CF Protect stuff. The Shield Cloud is shieldcloud.io is a SaaS offering.
Okay.
So you sign up for that, and then it uses that as the endpoints.
I was just wondering about cloud foundries that don't have public endpoints for the databases that you're
yes
scraping.
So that's where the agent comes in. So I kind of cheated. There is another component that you can run inside your infrastructure that provides your agent implementation, because what's out on the public cloud is really the orchestrator.
Yep.
And anywhere you can run a Docker container, you can, or you can run just a straight we support Ubuntu VMs and CentOS VMs and just straight up installation. I don't believe we have a BOSH release, but we do have the Docker image that you can run on top of containers BOSH release. And that spins up a little piece of software that actually SSHs outward from your infrastructure.
Got it.
So it transits all the NAT gateways and firewalls and everything else and goes out to a public endpoint. And then from there carries out the command, says, oh, it's time to do this backup. Okay, great. And then works that out to the public storage and all that stuff.
Could you run that container with Docker Diego or Diego Docker feature?
Yeah, you probably could. I wouldn't have a port. I don't know if Diego would be problematic from, this isn't really alive because it doesn't listen for any traffic. It's an outbound only thing. But it is a native OCI image that's available on Docker Hub. And there's a couple different flavors depending on what you want to back up with it. So there's straight Shield Cloud. We've actually got a blog post that I'll be pushing out today to the shieldcloud.io website that details how the Docker image is put together and how one might use, extend, and otherwise integrate it into your environment. So
cool. This is really, really awesome. Any more, some questions? I think this is long needed. There are probably things in BOSH Backup and Restore that do similar stuff. But this is a great way for end users to be able to get at their data in an organized way. Any plans for expanding the number of services that you support?
Oh, 100%. We just have to work our way through the catalog. As Wayne pointed out, this came about because we needed to do some data migration.
Yeah.
And we already had all the data pipes bits in Shield. So we said, hey, this could work. We have all the parts now. Let's do this. But yeah, as we work through our own services layer and other clouds as they go EOL. I think Swisscom was one we were trying to get into to see if we could play around there. Definitely, it's mostly about understanding the tags and how to wire because the app already has access to all of its data, right? Otherwise, the service doesn't work. So all we need to do is get Shield the access in the Shield format for the given plugin, and it should be able to do what it needs to do. So,
and on the Shield project GitHub site, the Shield repo, it lists all of the things that are supported, and you can
In the
see
CF
it.
Protect one, yes. And as
Yeah.
we add more, we'll add more there. It is important to point out that Shield Project in GitHub and Shield Project.io is the open core base, and Shield Cloud in GitHub and Shield Cloud.io is the SaaS offering.
Right.
Right now, CF Protect only works with Shield Cloud. That's only because that's what we have, what we had access to, and a desire to move quickly. There's no reason it can't do other shields. It's just not been a huge priority, but it will be as people start to adopt this thing outside. So
Cool. So I see you've got file system, Postgres, MySQL, and then some things on the presumably on the roadmap: extra backup, Cassandra, console, etcd, Mongo.
those are all currently supported by the agent. We just don't have the services in CF Protect
I see.
configured yet, right? Shield knows how to back all that stuff up. The trick with CF Protect is teaching the CF CLI plugin for Shield how to translate the service binding into a configuration for Shield itself.
I see.
This is just a bunch of glue code, really, that makes this all work, so that the
Okay.
CF Protect is the only command you really need to get that configuration.
And that's a standalone binary or a plugin for CF client?
It's a plugin for CF CLI, and we are running our own plugin repo, so you can just add the repository and then do a CF install plugin, and away you go.
Awesome. That is so cool. All right, that's going to be a hard act to follow, but we do have, thanks so much, James, for presenting again.
Anytime.
Always good content. If I can just take a look at my agenda today. Any questions? I asked a few questions. There could be more out there.
James, is this also be used to migrate from CF whatever to CF to Kate's and CF to CubeCF and stuff like that as well?
Yep. In fact, I've got a whole series of content talking about using CF Protect in VM-based Cloud Foundry to migrate to apps, migrate the data for the apps that you've already CF pushed over to your new shiny CF for Kate's. We're trying to make the data portable in the same way that right now the application code is portable. Not to necessarily make the state list, but as close as we can get.
Thank you.
Anytime, Norm. Anytime.
Yeah, and I'll just a half a question, but it should be possible for people who have data right now to point Shield and Shield Cloud at their data with the Shield UI and API.
Yeah.
Just to do a practice run there while the plugin, the CF Protect plugin, is being updated to understand the VCAP stuff. So there's nothing.
Correct.
Yeah. And that would actually be nice, because then you can kind of have a look at what glue logic is needed for people who are trying to figure out, I have this service in my catalog. So
I see that I've been corrected in the chat. It's shieldcloud.io, not shieldproject.io. Is that, which URL would you prefer people?
So shieldcloud.io is the SaaS offering. It's the slap a credit card down, get data protection. Shield Project is the open core that Shield Cloud's built on.
Okay, got it. Okay. Is there any other questions? If not, Kesavan and Pavan from SAP, if they are here.
SAP rocks.
They certainly do, but they're not here. Maybe there's a little problem with communication. They were going to represent our scalability journey with CF for K8s, but
there was a time jump. There was a time zone.
There was a time jump. They might not be.
Yeah.
They might not be there. Let me just ping them on the Slack. In the meantime, Chris can provide any updates he wants from the CF Foundation, because I see that he's joined. Chris Clark,
Hey,
would you like to present anything?
Sure, I'll say hi. Thank you all for the great work that all led to Summit last week. That was, I think, as fun as a virtual event in my garage at 3 in the morning can be. And some issues with the site. But we're soliciting feedback currently from all that, and certainly hope that we can all get together in person sometime next year. That's that. I don't actually have any big updates. I'm actually up in Guerneville right now. At the end of I was off yesterday. I'll be working today when I get back home. But yeah, that's all. James, it was a great demo. We're excited to see the Shield project come to fruition.
Yeah, you missed your thanks. We did thank the Cloud Foundry Foundation staff. It was a very, very early morning for North American people. I will confess that I did come later in the morning and then catch up with the recordings. The recordings. I did mention that the recordings now look like they're on YouTube, so we could. Should we share them out with our Twitter followers?
Yeah, I think that's good to go. I think it went live on YouTube sometime late yesterday. So they're all on there, and you can catch up with all of the breakout sessions and whatnot that you missed during Summit. Tweet away, and yeah.
I also saw that Kevin joined. Any updates from Bosch? If not, that's okay. We can.
I'm just looking. If anyone from the Seville office, the Bosch team is moved mostly to the Seville office. The only update I can give, I was hoping Diego was on, but I think you've been hearing some of the rumblings. We do have some of the bionic stem cell stuff progressing, so. I think there has been some announcements, but it's not ready for, it's not released. It's just being looked at and tested and whatnot. But I think, yes, that's
fine.
Yep.
Bionic stem cell stuff is progressing. I added some notes. Is anyone from SAP here yet to demo their stuff? I will point out that now, especially since we just made note that the CF Summit talks are available online, the scalability journey with CF for K8s is actually one of the talks from the summit. So if someone can find the YouTube link, we could just refer people to it. So we'll close with that. Unless there are any items for discussion, please feel free. Comments from the peanut gallery are always welcome in this meeting. Respectful comments from the peanut gallery.
Thank you, Troy.
I do have a quick question. I'm wondering if anybody has looked into what scaling for kubecf looks like, as far as, can I run 50,000 application instances on this thing? If there's anything out there about that.
We owe that to the community, and I know that IBM has been doing a lot of scalability testing. Of course, kubecf is a big part of their plans.
Sure.
And they are running it at larger. They have instances that are running at larger scale. I have somebody on the kubecf team with an item for that, but I don't know the status. So why don't I take a note to provide an update for that in the next, probably in the next app runtime PMC meeting.
Great, thank you.
Perhaps that might be a little more time-sensitive question for research purposes for clients based on that question. Can we maybe contact you out of band for that, or?
Sure. You know what? I would say kubecf dev on the Cloud Foundry Slack, because that work might be done, and I'm just not aware of the numbers.
Yeah, I popped that question in that channel just like 2 days ago.
Oh, and you didn't get a response?
Yeah, that's figured why I hop on here and give a tickle to some ears.
I will nag for you. I can do that on other channels.
Ah, shucks, thanks.
Troy's got all the secret channels.
There aren't any. There aren't any that you're aware of. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up then. We blazed through it pretty quickly this week. I guess the next one, Chris, is going to be in 3 weeks. So we're back to our cadence.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And please feel free to ping me on Slack or in the CAB channel. We'll just discuss it. We'll try and get a couple more presentations for next time. Maybe I'll have those numbers for CubeCF and maybe show off some of the things in the latest CubeCF. Get a demo there. And of course, Stratos is always fun to take a look at. But yeah, until that time, be calm, be kind, be safe, and take care of yourselves in this crazy year. And we'll see you all in a few weeks. Bye for now.
Take care, folks.
See ya.
Bye,
Oh,
thanks.
great.